am more than sure that 15 plus years ago, most of us, if not all, whenever we got ripped away from our consoles and forced to leave the house, we had imagined this blue hedgehog running alongside the car as if we were still holding a controller and playing the game. We didn't know about it back then, but nowadays, as we talk with other Sonic fans, we come to find that this exact experience was a worldwide phenomenon. No one shared anything about it online. We were kids after all, and the internet was just starting to become what it is now. Yet today, it is so widely known to have been a shared memory of so many of us. Sonic the Hedgehog is an incredibly popular and somewhat milked franchise all over the world. You've been able to accessibly find merchandise and officially licensed products in almost every single superstore, basically anywhere, since the 2010s. But for many, myself included, this best-selling franchise means so much more than what it appears to represent on the market.
Combat in the Nintendo GameCube, so give me everything you got. Give it to me. Go! No, hey, where are you going?
My own experience with this series began when I was around 5 or so years old, staring at my old TV with my beloved purple Nintendo GameCube and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle spinning inside. I did have some other consoles and Sonic games at that time too, like Sonic 2 and Sonic Spinball on my Sega Game Gear, or Sonic Unleashed on my Nintendo Wii. But none of those had ever grasped my interest quite as much as this one did, which had always outshone other games that I adored playing at that time too, such as Pokemon Colosseum or Super Mario Galaxy. Though that one is an absolute masterpiece too. But that's a conversation for another day. This game had stuck with me my entire life. From spending hours in the Chow Garden on the GameCube as a child, to obsessively getting all A ranks on Steam as a teenager and adult, to now buying older Sonic games for my other consoles, as well as trying to find an actually affordable Sega Dreamcast version of SA2. As my craze over gaming had brought me to collect old gaming consoles, running my parents' wallets dry. Whenever someone asks me what my favorite video game is, I can always list a few that are close to my heart. But Sonic Adventure 2, despite being a generic or shallow answer, always comes first on that list. I may not play it every day. I may not even be that active of a Sonic fan. There are still games, new and old, that I haven't played, comics that I have not read, shows that I have not watched. But this game on its own is what made me love not only this franchise, but video games in the very first place. This game, along with a few others, kind of made me into who I am today. Gaming is a huge part of my life. And with SA2 being my first ever favorite game, I kind of have it to thank for putting me into such an obsession over gaming, making me love this medium since I was a small child. Without it grasping my heart as much as it did, there's a high chance that I wouldn't be here talking about my favorite video games today, that I wouldn't have become this much of a nerd, wanting to share my thoughts on all of these franchises that I now love so deeply. Chances are, I wouldn't even discover them at all. Sonic the Hedgehog was the first franchise that I would nerd off about to others. It was my first experience where I would come to know the happiness of sharing one of my interests, and seeing how much different people liked the same games as me. I remember finding a friend in primary school who was the only one in my class that even heard of SA2, and I'll never forget how happy it made me that we could both talk about the same niche topic, in a small village where not many kids were interested or even introduced to gaming in the first place.
Have you ever felt so alive?
Despite everyone's experiences surrounding these games being different, most of them never fail to contain some sort of deeper lesson that many eventually notice and hold close to heart. It may be a kids' franchise, but even those often provide important messages that we should all pay attention to, which are sometimes genuinely more important for grown-ups to take to heart rather than for children. And that's certainly something that Sonic the Hedgehog has achieved and intended since the very start of its development journey, with many different topics covered over the years which are all as important as each other, all arguably making up the essence of Sonic the Hedgehog, making it such a likable series to begin with. 90s media was heavily focused on environmentalism, as more and more bad was uncovered surrounding climate change and industrialism, awakening panic and the want to act amongst the worldwide population. This also, obviously, meant that anything up and coming at that period was most likely going to reflect the world's views at that time, as do many pieces of media throughout history, and Sonic the Hedgehog was no different. When simplified to simple description, the game surrounds an animal, fighting off a human who is creating countless machines, using other innocent animals to power them, with the game's main goal being to free those animals and eventually defeat the human for good. I don't think there's much more to say to make this point clearer. Sonic eventually drifted further and further away from environmentalism and became more and more focused on the topics of friendship and general freedom, with some hints at its previous thematic focus through the content already embedded into the franchise, such as the animal-powered machines. Although, it has been seen to be taking a more closely associated approach to its primary focus again in one of its most recent releases. Sonic Frontiers. To sum up the plot in a very quick and probably poorly explained way, the human, Eggman, uploads an AI, Sage, onto an ancient portal to steal the spirits, ancients, old technology. It goes wrong and everyone is stuck in cyberspace. Eggman, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. And Sonic, after escaping the cyberspace himself, is left to save the island, ancient spirits, his friends, and beat up the ancient technological robots to fight off the, well, technology. Then more friendship stuff happens, and we see that well-utilized technology is good and helpful, but can be used for bad, and that we shouldn't mess with history. Kind of reflecting our world today with how there are things that are useful and helpful, but things that are unnecessary, greedy, and dangerous. I love AI so much! That was sarcasm if it wasn't clear enough.
So I should just... Do I need a reason to want to help out a friend?
The previously mentioned friendship is a huge factor in almost every single Sonic title ever released. That, along with the theme of found family and overall self-acceptance of the many characters that we've been introduced to throughout the past 30 years that the franchise has been out for. Ever since the very beginning, a big part of the Sonic the Hedgehog gameplay has been helping out other animal friends. As more and more titles release, more and more characters get introduced, and therefore this theme becomes more and more prominent as time goes on. This is explored in more detail in the adventure games, which pave the way for the future of Sonic to follow a route that pays incredibly close attention to friendship going forward. From here, we begin to see themes of saving others, helping others, giving advice, teaching, comforting, and accepting. Every single modern Sonic game has that kind of narrative at least once throughout its story, and I think that's an incredible message to push on to the younger generations. It is such an overlooked theme in media nowadays. It's even memed at, but I feel like, especially now that so much hate and judgment is thrown around online and in real life, it's becoming rarer and rarer to see. Therefore, it is so important for people to pay attention to these maybe subtle, but immensely important messages. Tails was once a kid being bullied for simply being different than others. Knuckles was just taken advantage of and needed the right people around him. Amy required saving and learning her worth, and Shadow required a change of perspective and help getting over his emotional hardships from the past. There are so many stories in this franchise surrounding giving support to others to become the best versions of themselves that they can be, and Sonic is always right in the center of that support. He is that support. Sonic accepted and helped every one of these characters just as they were, with no aim to disturb the kind of person they are, pushing them to accept themselves and let them be themselves. It could perhaps be explored in a little more in-depth way like other pieces of media achieve to do with this sort of theme, but it is still a really big part of the story, as well as a good thing to take to heart. Don't try to help people by changing them. Give them more of a safe space within your companionship.
I have no master, except the wind that blows free.
And that is not the only life advice-like idea that this series pushes forward. It also features a big focus on the theme of being free and being yourself, not bound to expectations, restrictions, or norms. And this is probably one of the main reasons why I'm still stuck to this franchise after so many years of loving it, as it's simply something that aligns with how my soul operates. Within the games, movies, stories, songs, characters, and objectives, Sonic the Hedgehog always covers some sort of idea of being free. Whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, this has always been a huge part of Sonic's identity. Therefore, has also been a message that the series aims to translate to us. This guy is literal symbolism for being yourself, being kind, being free, and also letting others be free. He promotes standing up to the bad and oppressive, striving for the greater good. Sonic doesn't have some outrageous goal, doesn't aim to achieve anything concrete or huge, he just simply wants to enjoy himself, and let others enjoy themselves too. Let them have the best time they can, and chase their dreams. And really, what else is there to ask for in a life full of so many possibilities?
Every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have.
I always get drawn to media that surrounds the idea of freedom and positivity, so this part of Sonic's motives is so important to me, as it gives me yet another inspiration to follow. Another story to look upon and simply smile at, as it features something that I too desire. And that is not where the inspiring themes end either. There is more. Dreams. This, although more muted, is also heavily explored. Dreams, wishes, goals, and aspirations of numerous non-main characters throughout the series are often revealed to us at the start of a new journey, and Sonic and his team are always the ones to help them achieve that. And the main cast themselves also have their own goals that they are working towards, which also explore the importance of chasing your dreams and becoming the kind of person you want to be, and achieving what you want. And you know what I really want? I want a new Chow Garden. Is that so much to f***ing ask for? Huh? Anyway, yeah, I just love these guys. Look at them. Sega, please. Anyway, trial and error. Not giving up. This is also what these games promote. There is so much repetition within these games, but yet every time there is still excitement and thrill to get through to the end and achieve the end goal. Both in the literal game structure sense, but also narrative. Have you seen how many times Robotnik had to start over? Or have you seen Amy at all?
Nothing starts until you take action. If you have time to worry, then run.
My absolute favorite theme in any video game, any movie, any show is staying positive. I absolutely adore characters with positive mindsets, with their heads in the clouds, full of laughter and smiles, jokes and humor, hopes, dreams, and freedom. That is what I always look for in media. Hell, even in people. It's what I strive to be like as a person, and what I want to see more of in the world. I love horror, I love angst, and I love watching epic stakes moments, fights, and great dramatic writing. But for me, joy always wins over sadness. Comfort always wins over pain, inspiration always wins over simplicity, and a positive message always wins over a good storyline. And if you get all of that included in one, then that's just the best piece of fiction that there is out there. It may not be Sonic the Hedgehog. There are other series that I would nominate for that. To be honest, one in particular. Yes, I'm one of those! But as for video games and what this one means to me, Sonic fits perfectly into the positivity promoting format. I always tend to drift towards things that are fundamentally meant to alter your views for the better and morally right. And you can clearly see these influences in the games themselves, in the comics, and certainly within the movies. There are so many great optimistic scenes, quotes, and themes, and that's what makes me love them. The fresh and bright color schemes, the speed, and the dialogue, and everything. But my favorite part? The uplifting quotes on the Japanese versions of the game box art. Those are exactly the type of messages that I get from these games. And what always sits at the back of my mind when engaging with any Sonic media nowadays. It's the underneath layer that adds so much more meaning to everything. Don't sit there and waste your precious time. When you want to do something, do it right away. Do it when you can. It's the only way to live a life without regrets. To live a life full of power, you must have faith that what you believe is right, even if others tell you you're wrong. The first thing you must do to live a life of power is to find courage. You must be ready to reach beyond the boundaries of time itself. And to do that, all you need is the will to take that first step. Ask not what others can do for you, but what you can do for others. Sonic races through the green fields. The sun races through a blue sky filled with white clouds. The ways of his heart are much like the sun. Sonic runs and rests. The sun rises and sets. Don't give up on the sun. Don't make the sun laugh at you. And along with these, some of the Crush 40 songs included in the Sonic games also have these sort of messages. Any sort of happiness-inducing and healthy lifestyle-promoting messages are what I value the most in any man-made project. Which also includes humor. I absolutely love having a laugh. Sarcasm, harmless pranks, positive jokes, just anything funny that makes everyone laugh and disregards no one. And although this franchise may be a little cheesy, the humor being more aimed at kids, some featured lines are so freaking dumb that I just love them.
No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!
And this also brings me to the community part of things. Memes are probably the most prominent community-driven things in any franchise, as they reach even outside of the original fanbase. What I'm trying to point towards here, though, is specifically the Snapcube dubs.
I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot. I'll be back.
I just love these videos, man. They're so good. I absolutely love this game series. From the very start of my life up until now, Sonic has been there with me all the way through. It simply feels wrong not to say that this is my favorite game franchise, as it would feel like disrespecting the very thing that started it all for me, that inspired so much. My console collection, most of my interests, my daily gaming sessions, conversations with my friends, a good chunk of my mindset, this channel, and some of my biggest dreams and goals. It all comes from the love of gaming. And SA2 is what made that happen. Also, shout out to my dad. It's all his fault. And outside of that, this series in general just covers values that I myself find immensely important. Kindness, freedom, optimism, care for the environment, lightheartedness, and resilience. It also contributed to so much of my nostalgia, excitement over new releases, and overall satisfaction. I may not have many stories surrounding community interactions or anything, but the personal meaning that I hold for these games is enough for me to want to talk about it for this long. Thanks for not clicking away. You're the best.